we were messing around with the intros while you were gone, Peter, because I liked what you and John did, where it was just kind of live from the beginning. I felt like that creates less editing for me, so that's what I started doing.
Yeah, okay.
We're going to talk about your experience at ICANN this week.
Right.
Today.
Is that it? This is the thing about it. Hey, Pete, we were messing around. We're live, by the way. Yeah, great. I like it.
All right. Not so critical update.
Not so critical update.
Boom. Nailed it. That's where the edit happens.
I was at ICANN, the 75th ICANN meeting in Kuala Lumpur.
What is ICANN?
Wait, you're too hasty, John. Give me a cotton picking second.
You said you wanted questions.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I was just about to say that's why. ICANN is the Oh God, I actually don't know now. It's the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers.
Right.
And they are the people who do domain names.
Right.
Like they're the top level policy people who set the rules for how domain names work everywhere. So you may have heard of them, ICANN.org, ICANN.org. They're kind of they're one of those shadowy figures in the background that make things happen, and
they keep the internet.
They they do. They keep the internet running. So they run the root servers, which means there are these. I think there's like 26 different root servers that handle all the traffic for like .com, .net, .uk, whatever. Which is a vast number of queries, because the way that the domain name system works or DNS works is that to find out www.example.com, you have to find out where com is stored, and then where example.com is stored, and then when www.example.
Yeah, and
whatever. We're not
I don't know.
I
don't know if you said this, Peter. I'm sure everyone in our audience knows because they're very tech savvy. But ICANN basically, if you buy a domain name, ICANN is the one who keeps track of that, right?
Yes and no. So there are two things. There's registries and registrars. Maybe we do need to do a quick recap of how DNS
let's
works.
do a recap. Break it down, Peter.
For the audience.
All right, break it down. Okay. So the way that DNS works is that it's hierarchical, right? And each element, each part of a domain name, so that's each bit in between a dot, is called a zone. And you might not know this, but the top level zone is simply a dot. And then there is a com zone, and the information for that is held on these special servers called root servers.
That dot you see if you're configuring typically a DNS server for a business, for example. Sometimes then you would see that it's .com dot as the final character, right?
Yes,
because that's actually part of the domain name.
It is. It's just so common that most places don't show it. So you can type google.com, well, www.google.com dot into a web browser, and it will work. It just kind of handles it if you don't do it, because it's there all the time. It's like typing google.com instead of www.google.com. It's just so common that it's a shortcut. So then, you have this dot, which is the root zone. And then that has information about which servers have information about com. And then on the com servers, it knows where the information for each individual domain is. And there's I don't know, 1 billion .com domains. So then this com server knows where all these billion where the servers that hold the information about the billion domains are. So it says, all right, example.com is hosted over here, and amazon.com is hosted over here, and yahoo.com is hosted over here, and blah, blah, blah. And then, so one level down, you're at the registrar level. So this is the registry, which is com registry, and then the registrar, the people who let you actually end users create domains underneath .com. So you can go and register Mike is a big lovely teddy bear.com.
There's one in
and
on a
that's
site
something
like GoDaddy or something.
like GoDaddy, exactly. So a registry are the people who have like the main part of a domain, like com or UK or country codes like UK and CA and I don't know RU whatever for Russia. And then you have the next level down, which is the registrar, and that's where you can actually go and get a domain from them. It's a bit more complicated than that. It's a lot more complicated than that, to be quite honest. But that's sort of some break it down. Welcome, okay. For now. So ICANN is the company that sets the rules for how all this works. It's a massive organization. It's a corporation technically, and they are completely global, and it's made up of all the people from all over the world that have anything to do with domains, basically.
Did we say why we're talking about this today?
Well, I was at the, I think I mentioned that I was at the 75th ICANN meeting, their annual general meeting, which was held in Kuala Lumpur, very fancy, capital of Malaysia.
Weren't you a little special little guest guy?
I was presenting there, yes. So I just want to talk about the structure of ICANN a little bit.
Is that Peter Lowe?
He's that one. And he's ours forever.
You will be in my hearts forever, darlings. The way that ICANN is sort of made up, there is the corporation. Oh, have I frozen? All right.
No, you're good.
There's
Power through.
The corporation, which is like the people who actually work, the staff of ICANN. Now, I'm a little bit fuzzy on this, even though I was there for a week. I still haven't got these details, like, ingested exactly. But there's the corporation. There is the community, which are like the kind of people around the world who are contributing, and then there is the groups. So there's, oh my god, ICANN is just a big ball of acronyms from the outside. They have 3 meetings a year. They have the AGM, which is the annual general meeting. They have a policy meeting, and then they have something else, which is like a country code thing or something. And they have all these meetings. Like over the course of 5 days, they have something like 400 individual sessions.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's quite crazy. And one guy from ICANN actually was so kind to me, Carlos Alvarez. If you're listening, thank you. He sat down with me for like 45 minutes and we went through the entire schedule. So the reason I was going is because I'm a member of this this other organization called FIRST, the Forum of Incident Responders and Security Teams. And I am the DNS abuse ambassador for this org. And they wanted someone to go to the ICANN meeting to represent them and talk about some of the things that are happening in FIRST. So I was there to talk about the challenge of defining DNS abuse, which is a kind of difficult topic because everybody has a different point of view. And my presentation was just about, hey, there's a lot of people involved here. Just remember, what you think might not be what other people think, and we should all try and get along, sort of thing. And it was fun. It was good. So they paid for me to go to Kuala Lumpur. And that was part of a thing called Tech Day. So, just to back up a minute, the different acronyms in different groups, basically, I was saying Carlos sat down with me and picked out all the ones that were relevant to DNS abuse. And every day I had multiple, it was a full day every day. So there are things like the CCNSO, which is the country codes and names stakeholders organization. There's the GAC, which is the Government Advisory Council or Committee. There's lots of ACs and SGs, which are stakeholder groups and advisory councils. There's the GNSO, which is the Generic Name Supporting Organization or Stakeholders Organization. There's there's these there's government staff, there's country code staff, there's the SSAC, the RSSAC, the RRYG, the RRSG.
So was this a fun event, Peter?
It actually was, not because of all the acronyms and whatever that took over. By the way, the whole time I was, they had this acronyms and terms page, right, which is hefty. But I was like, hey, I'm a newcomer, and I was using it all the time and emailing the guy who maintains it constantly. Like, hey, what does CPH mean? What does CCNSO mean? I found this mean, but I couldn't quite. Does this refer to that? Like,
Poor guy.
I ran into him.
And that's the last time Peter got invited to an ICANN conference.
Yeah. I ran into him. I'm like, hi. Because everybody's got nameplates on, like, the lanyards. And I'm like, Mike, I've been emailing you. He's like, yeah.
Jesus Christ, Peter.
Well, I have to say, one of the reasons why it was a fun event to go to was because of these hallway conversations. I met so many interesting people, and everybody was pretty much everybody was nice. I met this guy, Mike Takahashi, and he was like, no, it's fine. It's great to get some feedback because, most people don't send feedback, and it's great that, newcomers want to. It's kind of useful. It's annoying, but it's useful. And I met the president of the ISC, which is the Internet Software Corporation, something. They make some very important software like Bind. I met the people from the Public Interest Registry, which is the .org guys, from VeriSign, which is .com. I met a guy in the hallway who was responsible for. I think I mentioned this just a minute ago, but responsible for a language which is only spoken by 50,000 people in Africa, and it's like an endangered language. And he was so there's all these cool things that happen. Like, they were all really boring, dry terms like emerging identifiers and universal acceptance and things. But what it really means is emerging identifiers is basically cryptocurrency domain names and shit like that. They're identifiers. They're ways of identifying ourselves online. That's why it's the assigned names and numbers. It's not domain names. It's how we identify ourselves on the internet. So it's very generic. But it means that domain names are a massive part of it, about how we currently do it. But if it adapted to something else, ICANN would still be the people that and then there's what else was another one? Yeah, there was this universal acceptance, which is like what's that about? But actually, it's about figuring out a system that works with every single script, every single language on the planet. So this guy that was, coming from this endangered language was like, he's part of the universal acceptance group. So the reason it's such a massive ball of bureaucracy is because, and all these different acronyms, is because it's so huge, because it has to deal with everybody. Like it has to take everybody's opinion into account, and not just say you don't matter to anybody. It is truly global, and the impact of the things that happen there is very, very slow. I was warned by a couple of people, don't get involved in the GAC meetings, because that is the Government Advisory Council meetings, and fuck me, they are boring. Holy shit. Wow. I was in one meeting about access to WHOIS data, or like domain registration data, some legal thing. And I think I was there for like half an hour, and I walked out, and they had not said a single meaningful word, I think, by that.
I imagine they're all a bunch of sloths that speak super slow. Yeah.
Well, not too slow, but like, hi, this is James Wilson, and I'd like to introduce Betty Boop from the thingy. Betty, would like to thank you for your contributions over the last 3 months. It's been very valuable. Obviously, James Smith has been an invaluable member of the team here. Some of the work he's done.
This is the rest of the show.
Yeah, there was. So actually, I was talking to Carlos while I was there, and there was one meeting where they had a slide, and one of the key points was
one of these slides.
Panel. No. Well, yeah, it was panel N panel in subsection 3B, and I was like, wow, this is like something out of a movie where they're taking the piss out of accountants. Like, oh hi Johnny, can I speak to you about subsection 3B, please? Because I think it's very important that we talk about this immediately. But like actually, and I like it was a really, really important like subclause of something which affected how things work.
Peter's infected.
Yeah. So, any breaking news out of the conference, Peter?
Well, subsection 3B, I will tell you.
This actually sounds like it was literally the not so critical conference.
I know.
No. Well, I took him very well. Thank you for asking. You know, it was very exciting for me. I had people waiting to talk to me.
Any breaking news?
An interesting topic. Any? Not really. No.
No critical updates.
There was some interesting facts. They have these $540 million of funds under management. Did I mention that already? It's a lot of money. It's $500 million. Yeah. They can't do a lot with 400 million of it because it's like, yeah. The CEO gets paid $1 million a year. Part of that is this at-risk payment. So he gets like 750,000 plus 30 million, or 30% is like 30% at risk. Yeah. And there are some people who are like a bit suspicious. What does he do with all this money, and why is it worth it? There's this thing on the screen.
Literally a Twitter account called Eye on ICANN.
Yeah. It's not a super popular Twitter account, but you know they're raising some valid questions.
I love independent auditors. Like,
yeah,
the person or a group who runs this Twitter probably have zero credentials, but like,
yep,
fuck it, keep an eye on these guys. They get a bunch of money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's asking important questions. Where is this $100,000 spent on?
We had a little bit of a debate in our Discord server, which everybody should join in the link in the comments below, about this at-risk part of the pay. I think we all initially interpreted it as like hazard pay, but in reality, at-risk just means you're at risk of not getting it if you don't hit certain performance benchmarks.
Yeah, it's pay that is at risk.
not the person is at risk.
So he gets 75% upfront and 25% at risk.
70 and then 70-30, yeah.
Oh, boo hoo.
Yeah, right.
Nobody was complaining about it.
I mean,
just
clearly he is if he's fucking expensing $110,000.
Well,
1 year.
Yeah.
You expense what you're eligible to expense. Are you kidding me? You're going to travel and not try and expense it?
For the CEO, that's $100K. So that's a good expense on the CEO.
Sure.
Flying
they had a public forum.
Time. Yeah.
They had a public forum, which was really interesting, which was one of the last sessions they had. And it was real like town council vibe to it, where they had a microphone. By the way, the opening ceremony had these fantastic drummers from the Malaysian Symphonic Drum Orchestra. They were fucking amazing.
They're really trying to spend that $450 million.
Anyway, and it was like introduced by one of the government ministers in Malaysia. Usually, apparently, one of the government MPs from the country, the hosting country, introduced this ICANN. But yeah, they had this thing where like people can go up to a mic and question the board about, you know, oh hey, we think that has anybody considered the fact that you're using a lot of CO2 to organize meetings like this? And then someone else was like, oh, I just want to say thanks, but you have a lot of acronyms. Like really, you could just talk Peter? To. I annoyed enough people while I was there that I didn't feel like going up to speak in front of 2,500 people who were at the conference. Yeah, so it was a fascinating.
What was the funniest thing you heard from the town hall?
I didn't stay for all of it. I'll be honest.
Oh, okay.
It just I was getting really tired.
That's fine.
Bring us home, Peter. Wrap us up with a good story.
So the funniest thing was a guy who he went up to the mic and said, anybody around me, because it was a massive hall. He's like, yeah, I'd like to see anybody who supports the mission, that thinks that ICANN should be more careful about their CO2 emissions. Stand up, please. and then like 4 people stood up, and then he turned around and went, "No, come on, guys, really, come on, stand up." And then there was a few more people kind of sheepishly stood up, and then he's like, "No, come on, this is a serious thing. You don't care about the environment." And then like a few more people just stood up. I didn't. I was sitting there going, "Fuck off, man! That's the wrong way to fucking go about it. Like guilt tripping people into like no." I mean, I care about the environment, but yeah, don't be a dick. Like,
do you want all the animals to die?
Yeah.
Right.
And then I thought, you're in fucking Kuala Lumpur, mate. You're not. How the fuck did you get a walk? Oh, Jesus.
That's what he was saying. Is don't have it in a place where everybody has to travel like that.
Yeah. Don't get it in a place where you're forcing me to kill the environment.
Are there services that could support a virtual conference like that at that scale? Maybe, probably.
They had an interesting way of dealing with the hybrid aspect, which was that everybody who was physically present still had to log into the Zoom meeting as well.
Why?
Yeah. So that you can raise your hand and see the slides. And,
okay.
That's cool. Who was there, and participation was kind of even.
How's Wi-Fi?
Surprisingly good, actually.
Wow.
It was in the Kuala Lumpur Convention Center, so everything was kind of handled from that side of things.
Right.
When I went to PAX West, which is a video game convention. I don't know how many people were there, probably 10, 20,000 people. And the internet did not work.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting logistical challenge, right? Or engineering challenge.
Yeah. Wi-Fi at these big events.
I just don't actually know how that would even work ever. Like, I have enough problem with we've got 5 people connected to the router over here.
We'll do a separate episode on that. Let's wrap this one up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's wrap it up. I'm sorry, we took it. It was a really fascinating.
Well, if we're going to break down the way you would solve.
Okay.
Another breakdown.
You're
getting to travel to a lot of these events, Peter. Some important topics being discussed. We will continue to keep you plugged into our audience so we can stay up to date on that stuff.
Peter's our man on the scene.
Like and subscribe.